And welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Thursday, December 15th. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories read here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com, and here are some of the news stories from the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. The Cherokee Nation honored two veterans at this month's Tribal Council meeting in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. Deputy Principal Chief Joe Crittenden presented brothers Jimmy Van Bacon and Robert Bacon with the Cherokee Medal of Patriotism to honor their contribution to the long-standing Cherokee military tradition. Robert Bacon joined the Air Force on February 2, 1967 at the age of 18. He attended training in Texas and New York, where he was later stationed with the Air Defense Command before going to Vietnam in 1967. Robert's brother, Jimmy Van Bacon, graduated from Chelsea High School in 1968 and then attended United Electronic Institute in Dallas, Texas. In 1971, he was drafted by the Army and served a tour as a microwave communications technician in Korea. Jimmy Bacon left the Army in June of 1973 and then attended Oklahoma State University Institute of Technology. Conservationists, business leaders, and tribal leaders squared off December 14th at that first public hearing in Wisconsin on a Republican bill designed to kickstart an iron mine in far northwestern Wisconsin. The battle lines over the Gogebic Taconites plan for an iron mine in the Penokee Hills just south of Lake Superior have been clear for months. Supporters insist the mine will be an economic godsend at creating hundreds of good-paying jobs that will help re-energize the impoverished region. Environmentalists and tribal leaders, though, worry the mine will contaminate one of the most pristine and wilderness-based regions in the state. The dispute has grown into one of the most contentious environmental debates Wisconsin has seen in years. Assembly Republicans opened another front in the fight last week when they introduced sweeping legislation that would ease the state's rigorous mining permit process for the mine. Scores of people on both sides spent hours waiting for a chance to sound off in front of the Assembly Jobs Committee inside a State Park Pavilion on Wednesday, December 14th. One of the first was Cheryl Labar, who runs a plumbing business with her husband in Hayward, Wisconsin. She pled with the committee to pass the bill, saying people in northern Wisconsin are desperate for work. I respect the earth, I respect the water, but we've got to have jobs, she said. There's nothing now. It's relatively simple. It seems like you guys are making it more difficult, unquote. Labar, who also believes that recalls against Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker are a waste of time, is being funded by the mining companies to consider a recall against State Senator Robert Jauch, whose Senate district includes the mining site. And in other Wisconsin news, Recall Walker organizers on December 15th also announced that they had obtained 507,000 signatures in the first 30 days of an attempt to raise 540,000 signatures needed to recall the governor. That announcement came on the heels of another announcement by the Wisconsin State Department of Workforce that the state has lost another 11,700 private sector jobs, the fifth consecutive month of job losses since Governor Walker opened the state for business earlier this year. Interior Secretary Ken Salazar is asking national park officials to consider the Great Sand Dunes National Park in Colorado as a potential refuge for Yellowstone bison. The goal is to avoid the periodic slaughter of bison leaving Yellowstone Park in search of food. National Wildlife Federation Tribal Partner Director Garrett Vogesser says any transfer to Colorado public lands would require public input and take several years. Vogesser said bison transferred to tribal lands have been quarantined for 5 years to prevent livestock from being infected by disease bison, especially brucellosis and chronic wasting disease. He said bison that would be sent to public lands are not being quarantined. Northeastern Arizona County has the highest number of Native American language speakers in the country. The U.S. Census Bureau says Apache County in eastern Arizona has 37,000 such speakers. The county encompasses parts of the Navajo Nation, the Fort Apache Indian Reservation, and Zuni Pueblo. The figure is based on a 5-year estimates from community surveys that allowed the census for the first time to study small segments of the U.S. population. The census found that fewer than 500,000 million people age 5 and over speak a Native American language at home. About 65% of them are in the 9 counties in Arizona, New Mexico, and Alaska. More people speak Navajo than any other Native American language, with 169,000 people, followed by Yupik and Dakota, each with about 19,000 speakers. Jessica Lynch was just 19 when the world first saw her, a broken blonde U.S. soldier caught in combat video in Iraq, her face wearing something between a grimace and a grin. The Army Supply Clerk was being carried on a stretcher after 9 days as a prisoner of war. She had been captured along with 5 others after the 507th Maintenance Company took a wrong turn and came under attack in Nizariah on March 23, 2003. 11 of her fellow soldiers died. Lynch had joined the Army at 18 to earn money for college and become a school teacher. On December 16th, at age 28, she completes that mission. Nearly 4,500 Americans died, and about 32,000 were wounded during the war in Iraq, which is winding down this month as the last American troops are withdrawn. The first woman lost was Lynch's best friend and fellow soldier, 23-year-old Army PFC Ann Piestewa of Arizona, killed in a convoy attack. Quote, knowing she died right beside me and that could fairly well have been me brings a whole new perspective, unquote, Lynch said. You're just thankful that what you've been given, even if it's not what you wanted. Today, Lynch and longtime boyfriend Wes Robinson are parents to 5-year-old Dakota, whose name honors her fallen American Indian friend. Authorities have arrested more than 24 people in a drug sweep in southwestern Minnesota. Redwood County Attorney Stephen Collins says 21 defendants appeared in court earlier this week after being arrested on Monday and Tuesday. 4 others were arrested earlier and appeared in court last week. Collins said most of the arrests were in Redwood Falls and on the Lower Sioux Indian Reservation. The felony charges involve sale and possession of drugs. The drugs included heroin, cocaine, methamphetamines, and marijuana, as well as prescription drugs. The year-long investigation was led by the Brown, Lyon, Lincoln, Redwood, Renville Drug Task Force and focused on Redwood County. KLGR-AM reports that more arrests are possible. Youth Villages-ChristieCare of Oregon's Cedar Bough Native American program recently hired Robert Martin of Portland as program manager and promoted Richard Nelson of Portland to travel relations and cultural coordinator. Youth Villages-ChristieCare of Oregon is a private nonprofit organization dedicated to helping children with emotional, behavior, and mental health issues and their families live successfully. Its Cedar Bough program offers culturally responsive help for Native American youth and others who can benefit from this unique healing approach and the wonderful natural environment of the Youth Villages-ChristieCare Clackamas River campus. Youth Villages has been recognized by Harvard Business School and U.S. News and World Report and was recently identified by the White House as one of the nation's most promising results-oriented nonprofit organizations. For more information, you can visit youthvillages.org. And yesterday we had a graphic of the Eagle Kennecott mine up in Upper Peninsula there. And we just wanted to make sure that you realize that that picture was a prototype of what the mine will look like in the future. But here's how part of the mine site looks now as it was as of this last summer. And that's going to be another roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to thank you for joining with us and say when, and you come back soon.